Morning. It's a nice, comfortable, dry morning on August the 6th. I would say now tomorrow's supposed to be fairly warm as well, and that's about the last of the warm days we're going to get. But the other thing is the beans are coming along now, and I don't want them to go too far, and the plants are quickly dying back now. This is the black turtle, and most of the leaves on the Jacob's Caddo is looking fairly ratty now. And the thing about bush beans, I think I mentioned it before, is that they're not so easy to pick one by one. It's better to just take up the entire plant like that and strip all the beans off. So what I'm going to do is I'll take them off like this. But when the beans is in these pods, they won't be fully ripe, but they're perfectly fine. I'll dehydrate them and use them as any other dried bean. However, beans in this pod, they'll be perfectly fine. I had to put aside enough fully mature beans to make sure I've got enough seed for next year. And then all the rest, whether they're fully mature or not, it doesn't matter. I'll just dehydrate them and put them all in a container together. You see, these rattle. They're so ripe that they're gone loose in the pod now. So that's the main thing. I'll have plenty that I can save for seed for next year. You get pods with no beans in them. I don't know why that is. I would expect a flower that's not pollinated to just not produce a pod, but now it's not the greater percentage of them, but there are quite a few. Remember, that's a 7-gallon bucket. I've got those put in. There's still a lot of green pods in which the beans aren't fully formed, but a lot of ones where they're starting to, if they go tan, they're fully formed. That is just the black turtle beans. Because of the number of green pods, I'm not going to get nowhere near the final harvest that is possible out of that 3 foot by 10 foot bed. But you can see, I mean, that's the pods, right? And that's about the number of pods you would get, except for that, of course, the beans would be fully formed in an ideal situation. When you live in a place where you have freezing winters, this becomes your cover crop. If you grow something like beans or something else that has a lot of foliage that you're discarding, it goes back on the bed for the winter. So I'm going to pick the other beans now, and when I'm done I'll show you what I got in pods. Here we are. I've put them all in 5-gallon buckets so that you can see the different levels of from the different varieties. But this is the black turtle. Now that is what you could get. I didn't have quite a full bed of Jacob's cattle, so this second one's Jacob's cattle. And then, as you know, I only had like less than half a bed of each of the other two, soldier bean and tiger's eye. So I've got to shuck all of them now and show you what the resulting amount is. I spent all the afternoon yesterday shucking these. When they're not fully ripe, they're hard to shuck. See, I get a fully ripe one here. I can just basically do that. But when they're not fully ripe, see, that's the one with the, it had turned tan. This one's a little yellow colored one. And at this point, you see it broke down on the side. I got to be very careful to get that pod open. And each pod taking 10 seconds a pod. That adds up. See, I have to gently open them up. When you get one that's fully ripe. It got soft on the bottom. I did lose some due to mold. They had gotten wet and they were laying down and underneath the foliage, and so they stayed wet. Here's a dry, ripe one. Now, these, see, this one's going to call me a liar now. Sometimes the green ones open up fairly well. Sometimes they don't. I have to take a knife Now usually when they don't open very well, you'll get to see what you're going to see here now. There's not really anything in it worth saving, but sometimes I open them up with the knife and there is fully formed beans in there, one or two, right? But it was taking so long. I have the black turtle beans half done, and you can see there's some are still totally green and some are purple, some are fully black. I put to the side from some of those that were fully dried pods. I put those aside for seed for next year. It's beautiful weather to be outside, and I've got things to do outside. I can't just sit in the house all day on a sunny day like today and shuck beans. So I'm going to put those back. I can spread them out on a screen and put spacers, put another screen on top, so it doesn't matter how many screens I have to use, they'll take up the space of just one screen, floor space, right? And I'll deal with them someday when the weather's got me kept inside. Half of a 5-gallon bucket, and I got this container half full, so that's 2 liters. The container that I showed you before in the harvest of the last half of September, green weight, it filled up the 2-liter jug, and then once I dried it, it was actually less than half the volume and about 60% the weight. It was 3 pounds green weight, came to 1.6 pounds dry. These are 2.4 pounds green weight, so once I get them dry they should be around 1.4 pounds. So despite a lot of them being not ready and not even developed, I should get about 3 pounds out of this bed. So I googled online, and the commercial farmers using their tractors and everything to grow these things, they said you get about 1,500 to 1,800 pounds per acre dry weight. 1,800 pounds per acre works out to, for 30 square feet, about 1.26 pounds per 30 square feet. But growing them in your backyard garden is just native soil and compost. Even though I'm getting probably less than half of what is possible, I'm still getting double what the commercial farmers would be getting. And you think 3 pounds per 30 square feet, that's 1/10 of a pound per square foot. And if I get probably double that next year, that'll be 2/10 of a pound per square foot. Compare that to something like potatoes, carrot, or what. That's an awful low yield. But if you compare it to the raspberries, I've been harvesting 30 pounds per year from the raspberries. They're 4 feet wide, about 25 feet long, 3 rows of them. That works out to be about 1/10 of a pound per square foot. But that's green weight. We're talking 1/10 of a pound per square foot dry weight. So in reality, we're getting more from beans than we are from the raspberries. When you're keeping your records, when deciding how much you need to grow, you think about the average adult person eats about 1,000 pounds of food per year. But that's green weight. So you keep a record of these bean harvests in green weight to decide on how much food weight you have. But when you buy them in the store, you're buying them dry already. So you have to record what the dry weight is if you want to find out what the value is, because you'd be going by dry value. Now, with respect to these not being fully developed, you remember back in the spring, the transplants that I put out, they all died when it got sunny. All of June they sat there, they looked like they were going to survive, but as soon as the sunny weather came, last of June, 1st of July something, they just died. I direct sowed some when I planted the transplants, and that was June the 5th. And so most of these, pretty much all of these really fully developed dry ones came from that first sowing. But I did get quite a bit of harvest from the second sowing too. The second sowing was July the 10th. So if I sow June the 1st next year, all of my beans should at least get this far. And I'll have a wonderful bean harvest. That's the excitement. This year is the final learning experience for dry beans. We know now when to plant them and what to look for when to harvest them, where to plant them, and what kind of supports they need. So there, if you enjoyed that, hit the like button, leave me all your comments, and I'll see you in the next video.